Need a little luxury in your life? That's why I recently treated myself to a staycation at the Inn at 500 Capital. Whether you're looking for a romantic getaway, a special celebration, or just a break from routine, you're going to love their Four Diamond Boutique experience with gorgeous rooms, penthouses, and suites right in the heart of downtown Boise. You'll be greeted with a complimentary drink on arrival, have access to free shuttle service, and even your pet is welcome. And here's an insider tip: book more than one night and save with their weekend escape rate. Book your stay now at inat500.com. Hey everyone! Right now, Boise Weekly is holding their annual contest highlighting the best of the best in our city. And we need your help. If this show helps you feel more connected and in the know, please nominate us in the Best Podcast category. It takes just a minute, and we'll put a link in the show notes to the nomination form. Thanks for your support, Boise. Today on CityCast Boise, state lawmakers are pushing two bills that would make it harder for the city to address homelessness. One, criminalizing outdoor camping, the other blocking shelter expansion. Meanwhile, BSU's president is heading to Vermont, leaving big questions about the university's future. Plus, Meridian's got a colorful protest for inclusion. It's Friday, March 21st. I'm Lindsay Van Allen, and this is what Boise's talking about. Happy Friday again, everyone. And joining me this week to break down all of the local news is our Hey Boise newsletter editor, Blake Hunter. Thank you so much for joining me, Blake.
Hey, Lindsay, it's been a doozy of a week. Let's get into it.
One thing that I really want to jump into this week is that there have been a couple of bills absolutely targeting Boise. I mean, in the bill text, it doesn't say Boise, but it basically says Boise. And two of those bills have actually been about how we are able to manage or support the unhoused and homeless population within our city. Can you explain what those bills are and how they would target Boise's ability to work with that population?
Totally. So there are two different bills, like you said, Senate Bill 1141 and Senate Bill 1166. I'll start with 1141 because it's the one that's moving the most right now. So this is essentially a bill that institutes a new statewide ban on what's called public camping, or like sleeping in public. And so, of course, this is mostly targeted towards unhoused people who are sleeping in a tent or even in a car or literally just like on a sidewalk anywhere that is like in the public sphere and kind of public domain. And so this is basically just completely outlawing that. It comes from a Senator Cody Galloway from the Boise area, who she has this concept that she's kind of hanging her hat on for this, called the willfully homeless. And so this bill, she says, is intended to target the willfully homeless and really encourage them to get support.
Can you explain what that idea or that concept is a little bit more? Break it down. Why we would need to outlaw or ban camping because of that idea?
The idea of like public camping is just, removing public camping or banning public camping. The idea is to increase safety and security and cleanliness are kind of like the taglines that are around this. And the focus is on the sponsors of the bill and the supporters of the bill are saying that the focus is on getting people into shelters, getting people into safer spaces by banning them sleeping where they can. And obviously this gets really thorny really quickly because they're kind of saying that this is a very compassionate approach. This is like a kind thing to be doing because it's, again, encouraging people to go somewhere safer. And this is not a new problem. Actually, there's a huge case, a landmark case that came from Boise called Martin v. Boise. But it essentially outlawed a similar ban like this that Boise had. And they're not identical. Again, we don't need to go into the specifics of that bill, but actually the Supreme Court last year overturned that bill with a case out of Oregon. And so it has kind of thrown the whole public camping sphere in limbo, especially in the 9th District, which is like most of the Western U.S. Again, we can get really in the weeds really quickly here. But this, to me, 1141 feels like a new chapter in the effort to ban public camping. Again, this is a completely statewide ban, but this would mostly affect Boise. And so 1141 has a lot of different supporters and a lot of different opponents. Some of the supporters most prominently are the Boise Rescue Mission, which is, as you know, Lindsay, and a lot of people probably know, like a very... it's a homeless shelter with kind of a religious programming to it. And again, they're saying that their concern is safety of unhoused people sleeping outside in tents or in cars. And then on the other side of things, you have like Interfaith Sanctuary and the Boise Police Department, the city itself, and local faith leaders who are all saying, actually, this is a terrible idea. They're all saying that this is a very expensive mistake. Specifically, Chief Dennison, the Boise Police Department Chief Dennison, said, we already have a system in place for this, and this statewide ban actually just limits our ability and harms our ability in our relationships to work with service providers and to work directly with unhoused people. Because what this means is ticketing. And so I talked to Jody Peterson-Steigers, who's the Interfaith Sanctuary Director, and she was talking about this, and she was just like, I asked her to respond to the idea that this is a compassionate or kind bill. And her response is like, so your solution is to put people in jail or separate them from their families? What happens to their materials? Like, these are people who usually don't have a lot of possessions anyway, and so those possessions matter more to them than it does to like people who are housed. We're gonna write tickets for people and incarcerate them. You know, like how she ended that phrase, like, you know, kind of response saying like, how is that kind? And that's a question that's been ringing, you know, in my head, and I'm sure a lot of other people's heads, is like, how is this the solution? One thing that I do want to point out is Boise Dev reported this week that Senator Cody Galloway's husband actually is the president of an interior design firm on Americana Boulevard, a block away from Interfaith Sanctuary in Corpus Commons, and
Really?
Cooper Court, which is, you know, where a lot of unhoused people gather because that's where the shelters are and a lot of the resources are. And she, you know, Boise Dev reported that she confirmed that link with her husband to that business, but didn't say whether, you know, that impacted her writing of the bill or participation in the bill, and she didn't mention it in the Senate in any hearings on this. So I thought that was very interesting. And so, yeah, there's a big new debate on this. And like I said, this kind of feels like a new chapter in a very long book about how Boise polices homelessness.
In my opinion, it's a backwards way of thinking to look at the fact that people are sleeping outside or sleeping in their cars and say, okay, the answer to this is we need to outlaw this. We need to make this factor a crime, because nobody does that just like because they think it's the best option or that's their favorite option. That is a desperate last resort. Humans have to sleep. Humans have to sleep every day. You can't change that. That is a basic necessity need. As a nurse, I'm letting you know, you've got to sleep every day. And the move to then outlaw being able to do that, thinking that it will force people into shelters, this seems like a halfway option, where if you're going to do this, then you have to make sure that there is enough room for people to go. You can't just outlaw it. Like it's outlawing this practice of being able to sleep every single day, and then thinking that just will mean people go away, like you said, to prison. Like they're just going to go. Where are they going to go? Where are they going to be? And Cody Galloway referenced a young child that ended up dying in 2018 in a car fire caused by a propane stove in a Boise Walmart parking lot. No family is putting their child in that situation if they have other resources, if they have other options. And so this isn't going to prevent that. this is just going to make it more difficult for families who are on their last rope, like doing the best they can, hanging on by their fingernails.
And it's so difficult too because, incarceration is such a black hole where once you're on the slide into it, it's so, so difficult to climb out because you can't get apartments, you can't get jobs, or it's harder to get those things. And then we see spikes in recidivism, which is, returning to prison. And so, this is a really, really thorny thing. Jody Peterson-Steigers told me, like, it really feels like Boiseans are showing up and, like, stepping out and telling their representatives, because now this has moved on to the House, and, like, really trying to step up. And she was also saying that, like, having the faith leaders talk to this and speak about this so publicly. They wrote an op-ed with the Idaho Statesman that was really well done, I thought. And so, there's a lot of opposition to this, but it's still moving forward. And now I want to turn to we won't talk about this one as much, but Senate Bill 1166 is also pertinent to talk about because they came out kind of at the same time. But 1166 has been stuck in a committee for, I think, like a week now. So I'm not sure where this is going to go. But essentially it's a ban on the development of new shelters or the opening of shelters that are currently under construction within 300 feet of any residential area. If anyone in Boise knows, there's one prominent one that is being built, and it's Interfaith Sanctuary's new shelter on State Street. It's right in the Veterans Park neighborhood, and it's been really embattled from the beginning. It hit a roadblock in January when the Idaho Supreme Court said that the Boise City Council violated some appeals processes to give it a conditional use permit. But essentially, this bill is like, and Jody Peterson-Steigers told me this. She was like, Senate Bill 1166 should have been called Dear Interfaith Sanctuary. And it's hard to disagree with her about that because it does seem really, really directly targeted to that. And so, again, we don't know where that's gonna end up. And already Interfaith is facing so many hurdles for this new shelter. So I'll have more reporting on that soon. But definitely the focus right now is on 1141, and we'll see where 1166 moves from here.
This episode is sponsored by Babbel. Are you holding back on foreign travel plans this year because you're afraid of the language gap? I'm not, because I have Babbel. I'm David Plotz, the CEO of CityCast, and I'm learning Spanish on Babbel, getting ready for a trip to Mexico City. Babbel is the language learning app that gets you talking. Babbel's quick 10-minute lessons, handcrafted by over 200 language experts, get you to begin speaking your new language in 3 weeks or at whatever pace you choose. Babbel's tips and tools are inspired by the real-life stuff you actually need when communicating. With a focus on conversation, you'll be ready to talk wherever you go. Babbel has given me great lessons on getting directions, ordering in a restaurant, and making plans. And of all the things I'm doing in Mexico City, I'm probably most excited about the soccer game we're going to. So I was excited to learn how to cheer from Babbel. That'll be me you'll hear yelling, "Fuerza Tigres! Fuerza Tigres!" With over 16 million subscriptions sold, Babbel's 14 award-winning language courses are backed by a 20-day money-back guarantee. Let's get more of you talking in a new language. Babbel is gifting our listeners 60% off subscriptions at babbel.com/citycast. Get up to 60% off at babbel.com/citycast. Spelled BABBEL.com/citycast. Babbel.com/citycast. Rules and restrictions may apply.
Lowe's knows what makes SpringFest savings even better are member-only doorbuster deals. Right now, rewards members can save $40 on an Allen & Roth Chesler Gold faucet. Was $99, now $59. Plus, save $110 on a Cobalt 40-volt battery trimmer and blower combo kit. Was $279, now $169. Lowe's, we help, you save. Valid through 3/24 while supplies last. Program subject to terms and conditions. Details at lowes.com/terms. Subject to change.
And Blake, I was really excited to have you on this week because you broke some really interesting news about President Marlene Trump and Boise State University. But the news wasn't about Boise State University. It was actually about a university in Vermont. So can you break down for us what is happening, and are we potentially going to lose the president of BSU?
I mean, it sounds like it, to answer that last question. Yeah, on Monday morning, we got an alert that the University of Vermont had released a statement and told its, students and staff, its campus community, that Dr. Marlene Trump, who's been the president of Boise State since 2019, is their sole finalist for a presidential, University of Vermont presidency. And this is the first time that we've had confirmed that she's been looking for a new job. Any state board of education, any university is going to want to hire a president who's been a president before. That's a real perk. This was her first presidency of a major university. She was a dean and provost before this in a few different university systems, Trump was. So, yeah, it looks like Trump might be leaving Boise State. And, what a wild ride she has had.
I was going to say, she's, for better or worse, been a lightning rod.
Yeah.
And people have a lot of feelings
across
the political and social spectrum. Everyone has a lot of feelings about her and about her role at Boise State. You can't, even if you know somebody, their political alignment, where that you do not know how they feel about President Trump. You do not know. So never assume.
Yep. I've been having conversations with people all week about that. And yeah, you're totally right. It's such a, I would not want to be her. That's the only thing that I will confidently say are my feelings about her, is I would not want to be in her position. I don't know. How are you feeling about this?
I feel a lot of mixed feelings about President Trump, because sometimes I'm like, what was she doing? But the other times I'm like, was it because she was a woman? Was it because she got so much hate? Did we expect her to do the impossible at Boise State with the Idaho legislature? Kevin Richert at Idaho Ed News did list some of the milestones of her tenure. And so I think some of these are important to list, regardless of how you feel about her. She did lead the university in increasing enrollment, up 4% from 2019. The 4-year graduation rate was up to almost 43%, which is up from 38% just 3 years ago.
And those stats in particular are really notable because in a lot of those, I mean, I don't have the stats in front of me, but just in a lot of those categories, other higher education institutions are declining, nationwide. So those are really prominent.
And this was all over the pandemic. So I also try to have some empathy that she was the president of this university when there were major attacks by the legislature against, quote, woke universities. And she was really put in a really tough position by the legislature, and it was the pandemic. And so there's just been controversy after controversy after controversy. So honestly, even for myself, it's hard for me to decide how I feel about her, because I think there's so many confounding factors where I'm like, I don't know. I disagree with some of what she did. I agree with some of what she did. And I don't know that I would have done better in that position. I don't know that.
Certainly not.
I don't know that I could have even handled all of that pressure. And so I really have a hard time really falling into any camp about her. But people have so many really strong feelings about her. And so, I mean, even in your article, you quoted her State of the University address on August 2024, where she acknowledged, quote, negative energy around higher university here. And that's probably the best way to describe how her tenure here has been. Lots of negative energy.
Yeah, I was talking to an administrator at Boise State this week, and we were kind of talking about her acknowledging the quote unquote negative energy. And in retrospect, we were looking back on it being that's the speech of someone who's trying to leave, trying to keep look out the door. But I think the bigger question is who's next, and what is the next university president going to look like? And how's the university going to change? Because the university has changed so much, even just since I graduated 3 years ago. I don't know. We'll see what the future of the university holds. But I think I wouldn't be surprised if the state board makes a much I'll call it safer choice. And by safer, actually, I mean conservative.
I definitely look at this and it does, like you said, I think the biggest question is who is next, because I am very concerned about, one, who would apply, two, who would want this job? Like, who is it? That makes me concerned. Like, if you really want this job, honestly, that lightly concerns me. That's a bit of a red flag. And then who would the State Board of Education in this political climate choose? Like, I think it makes me very concerned about the future of Boise State and what that looks like and who will be steering the ship, and then what that means for those students, because I appreciate the education that I got there, and I am concerned about that continuing with the next president.
I can say to my new Samsung Galaxy S25 Ultra, hey, find a keto-friendly restaurant nearby and text it to Beth and Steve. And it does, without me lifting a finger. So I can get in more squats anywhere I can. 1, 2, 3.
Will that be cash or credit?
Credit. 4.
Galaxy S25 Ultra, the AI companion that does the heavy lifting so you can do you. Get yours at Samsung.com. Compatible with select apps. Requires Google Gemini account. Results may vary based on input. Check responses for accuracy.
Still getting around to that fix on your car? You got this. On eBay, you'll find millions of parts guaranteed to fit. Doesn't matter if it's a major engine repair or your first time swapping your windshield wipers. eBay has that part you need, ready to click perfectly into place for changes big and small. Loud or quiet, find all the parts you need at prices you'll love. Guaranteed to fit every time. But you already know that. eBay. Things, people, love. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
Blake, I am really interested this week in hearing, what is your pick of the week?
My pick of the week is around art, which is, I think, I'm really just feeling really inspired and motivated by art right now. I just feel like it's pulling us through. Like, I think that just like pouring your energy into like creative community is really important right now. And it is one of the things, I guess I'll just speak for myself. It's one of the things that's getting me through some of the darkness that has been 2025 so far. And so I wanted to shout out, there is a pretty new group, kind of a collective vibe. It's called Address Book. And this was put on by a friend of mine, started by a friend of mine late last year. And it's just this kind of wacky, like mysterious, like conglomeration of different kinds of art just rolled up into one event. And it's like almost like shotgun style. Like there's been a few different, there's been like a house party and then like a bigger kind of house party in like a studio situation. And it's like the person sitting next to you, if you don't know them, they could stand up and be a participant in the next art of like whatever art performance is about to happen, and you have no idea. Like that's kind of the vibe that you're going into it with. And in every room, there's something different going on. There's visual art going on. There's theater going on. There's like music going on. And I think that I just create like I'm really into this just like free for all energy right now. And I'm really excited for this one. This is on Saturday at 8 p.m. out in this like office space. They found this really cool office space that I'm so excited for. And the theme is about like being corporate, and it's work, like artwork about work. And I'm just really excited about it because I have a bunch of friends that are in it. And I think it's become this really, really cool community that has a lot of like intrigue about it on purpose. And it's just like haphazard, but also like very polished in the best way. And so I'm just really excited. It's like a $5 entry, or you can pay with a trinket of some sort. So look up Address Book on Instagram and swing by. I feel like it'll be fun. You kind of will never know what's going to happen, but also I think that that's important to like lean into the release of the unknown right now. And I think that I know a lot of the people who are in it, so I know that the art will at least be very good. That's my guarantee.
I love it. No, there's something about, with everything going on, we need art. We need this creative release. I don't consider myself very artistic, but I have, and this isn't necessarily artistic. Real artistic people are probably like, what are you talking about? But like, I've started doing like paint by numbers. Yeah. Because I love the structure. I need the structure. Don't just tell me like paint what you feel. But something about it has been really calming and relaxing with everything going on. So it really resonates, this idea that this idea of art and maybe unexpected art and performance art. I think that sounds amazing. I'm very, very interested in that.
Yeah, I think it'll be really fun. What's your pick of the week?
So my pick this week is actually, I just want to shout out Meridian. We don't usually do that. Usually I'm like, yeah, Meridian. But I have been delightfully surprised by my city as a Meridian girly. And for anybody who's unaware, the West Ada School District asked a teacher to remove a sign from her classroom that said, "Everyone is welcome here," and had an artist's rendering of kids raising their hands just with all different skin tones and little hearts on the palm. What I think is a very innocuous, wonderful message for the classroom. I would love it if all of my kids' teachers had that poster in their classroom. Anyway, the school district asked her to take it down. She initially did, but put it back up. They gave her till this summer to remove the posters permanently, or she faces potential employment repercussions. So one of the ways that the community is standing together is they're having a Chalk the Walk event where we're going to the school district. I'm going to go as a West Ada parent on Sunday from 4 to 7 p.m. The address for that is 1303 East Centennial Drive in Meridian. And they're inviting everyone to come and bring your own chalk. It's a bring your own chalk event. And all of the sidewalks and sidewalk areas around the district office, we're going to chalk rainbows and hands and showing support for all the students at West Ada. And as the parent of an LGBTQ child, I am so delighted that even in conservative Meridian, parents are standing up for inclusive spaces, that we're still having conversations, even with everything that's going on, about how important and what a community value it is for us to have inclusive spaces. So that is my shout out. There's also an Everyone is Welcome Here protest of sorts on Monday, March 24th. That's when the school district goes back to school after spring break. There are t-shirts people are buying that have that exact slogan and the hands that are from the teacher's poster. So people are buying those to wear to school or to have their kids wear to school. But it's just really a day to focus on making sure that everyone is welcome in the community. And so my pick of the week is Meridian is showing up. And I'm delightfully surprised by it. So there's different ways to show up depending on how you feel comfortable or how you want to show support for the district. But I just got to give a shout out to Meridian for surprising me in a really, really great way.
Yeah, I mean, the community has really, like you said, like drawn a line here and said, like, you won't cross this. And it reminds me a lot of 2 years ago, was it 2 or 3 years ago with the Meridian Library District. Like, we're seeing multiple signs out of Meridian where like people are saying like enough is enough. And yeah, it's really inspiring. And this has like taken off. Like this has become a really big deal. And like you said, I didn't really expect it either. So yeah, I hope you have fun. And I can't wait to see the photos and stuff from it.
Hey everyone. After we recorded this Friday news roundup, the story broke that Boise State President Marlene Trump is officially leaving for the University of Vermont. UVM sent a note to students and families saying she'll be hired as their 28th president. That's all for today here on CityCast Boise. The show is produced by Evelyn Avitia, Frankie Barnhill, and me, Lindsay Van Allen. Blake Hunter writes our Hey Boise newsletter with help this week from Adrian Gonzalez, and our music is by Up Is The Down Is The. If you enjoyed our show today, leave us a review. It helps other people find us. We'll be back on Monday with another episode of Capital Chatter. You won't want to miss it.